And our top story, nurseries and registered childminders in England could soon be allowed to look after more children under coalition plans to lower the costs for parents.
Eva Lloyd is a reader in early childhood and education at the University of East London, and she's advised Liz Truss on childcare in the past. And Julie Lightly is the owner of 4 nurseries in Manchester. Thank you both for joining us. This sounds a little bit too good to be true. We're going to have better trained and better paid childcare workers, and at the same time potentially a drop in cost to parents. Is this possible?
The way it's being presented, it's very hard to see for parents or managers or the workers or people like me who are watching from the sidelines how this can be implemented and why the relaxing ratios should lead to those outcomes.
But on the continent, they're able to there are much greater ratios, aren't there, on the continent? They look after more children per teacher, per nursery worker in that environment. Why are they able to do it on the continent when not able to do it here?
Every statistic hides a story, and the situation is much more complex than the statistics as presented here would suggest. Let's take the example of the Netherlands, which in 2005 also passed a Childcare Act which deregulated childcare to a large extent. So group sizes increased and ratios were relaxed, and workers, well, the ones who were kept on were the more qualified ones. And what was the worrying outcome of that? That even the more highly qualified workers had trouble coping with the larger numbers of babies and toddlers. Because, as every experienced practitioner will tell you, you've only got one pair of hands. And especially in year 1 and 2, having some familiarity with the children and some one-to-one so that they are learning to speak is extremely important.
Julie Lightly, do you think this is going to be of any help to your nursery businesses?
Oh, hi, I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please? It's not a great
Do you
line.
think this is going to be of any help to you and your businesses?
I think from a nursery owner's perspective, there's a lot of frustration within the sector that these proposals are coming into play. I think we welcome very much so the emphasis on qualifications. I think everyone would agree that childcare is a very low status and low paid job, but to do this at the cost of quality is quite worrying, really. And I know from an owner's perspective that one member of staff looking after 4 toddlers rarely happens. And what you're actually talking about is 2 members of staff looking after 12 toddlers. That changes things significantly.
There are a lot of private nurseries out there. They cost a lot of money as a parent with 2 small children. Why are they so expensive?
Quality childcare is expensive, and I think really from the perspective that approximately, well, minimum 80 to 85% of turnover in a nursery is actually staff labour cost. Now, so I can understand on the one hand why someone would go after reducing those costs by reducing numbers of staff, but this will impact on quality, and it will affect the quality of interactions and the time available for staff to comfort and reassure children. And that's what parents need. They need to be able to go to work and understand that their children are being looked after in a warm, secure and loving environment.
Eva, what's your explanation for the great diversity of cost and the amount of family budgets that goes on childcare across, Western Europe, which is meant to be broadly similar?
What makes an enormous difference is whether the government puts money directly into childcare provision itself and allows providers then to pay good wages to the workers. Now, this government does that through the early education entitlement, which is the free nursery education that every 3- and 4-year-old can have, and that is now being rolled out for a large number of 2-year-olds. As this government is actually focusing in that initiative on disadvantaged 2-year-olds from economically disadvantaged homes, it is even more important that the quality of that rollout is high. So I don't think anybody who is currently concerned with that initiative will be reassured by the announcement of relaxing ratios.
But that, to provide help for people when their children are 2, it's very late in the day. If women have taken time out of their careers and they have to do it for 2 years before they can get any kind of state support with childcare, is there an argument that the government should be subsidising childcare on a much, much greater scale from a much, much earlier age for children?
One of the things the government could do is to set a cap on what it thinks that families, households should pay on childcare as a proportion of their household income. Other governments have done that. In France there is a discussion about that. It is not perfect there. Certainly in the Nordic countries there is a discussion, so that a country like Norway, which uses a mixed market economy, although most of the providers are not for profit, but there's a diversity of providers, has said no more than about 15% of household income should go on this service. It is important for society, for children and for parents, and puts a lot of money into the service direct.
Eva Lloyd and Julie Lightly, thank you both very much.